Why you are here today? What do those people staring at your way think of you? Do you even deserve to be on this stage? All these are questions that are going through my head right now. Today I'm not going to talk about my passion for environment and obsession with green buildings. Today I'm going to talk about a personal journey, the conflict between me and I. Let me ask you first, how many of you got an idea that you thought it was amazing and you were very excited about, but you didn't act right away? That deep voice came from inside telling you why this is an awful idea or why you are not good enough for it. Just raise your hand so I can get an idea of how many of you had it here. Exactly. Many of us did. I had this inner conflict for years, a continuous tension between me and I. What does that mean? I'm only one person, right? Why I'm splitting myself into two? Simply because we all have this critical voice inside us that can be either constructive, destructive, sometimes both. This voice is not coming from our parents, our bosses, our rivals. It's coming from inside. I'm not talking here about schizophrenia or ghosts. I'm referring to the voices within. Once I realized these voices are controlling my thoughts, decisions, and are holding me back, I decided to understand them. So I did what any millennial would usually do. I Googled it. Yep. It turns out that our brains are designed to protect us, to prevent us from doing anything risky. It's protecting us even from ourselves. The self-defense mechanism gets activated when we hesitate. Hesitation is a habit, by the way. When you hesitate, your brain gets an alert because you didn't hesitate when you were riding your car in the morning, preparing your coffee, or eating lunch. So there must be something wrong that you hesitated now. To protect you, your brain magnifies risk to pull you away from something that perceived to be a problem. We human beings have developed this mechanism to protect us from predators and danger. It is super helpful when we're in the woods and we suddenly face a tiger. Our nervous system and muscles will respond to that threat immediately. Except in our modern life, it is not really beneficial because we have to make risky decisions sometimes, but our brain will try to talk us out of it, thinking it is protecting us from a life-threatening situation. Simply because our brains cannot distinguish between the fear of being eaten by a tiger or the fear of being humiliated in public. So we have developed this, and in order to give you an example, 9 months ago, I have received an invitation to the World Economic Forum meeting. During the first few seconds, I was thrilled. Then I realized I would have to work hard for it. So I hesitated. Alert signal went on in my head. My brain activated the defense mechanism and started making all the excuses why I shouldn't go. So I started telling myself, oh, you got this only because you were lucky. There are more qualified people out there. You don't really deserve it. Another thought was, you wouldn't be able to talk in a panel if you were asked to. Your English is not so good and you have no knowledge to share. And finally, there is no Swiss embassy in Iraq. You have to travel to Jordan, and don't forget you have to apply for a Jordanian visa. And even if you manage to do all this, your visa application would probably get rejected because you're an Iraqi. Old me would have probably pulled out. The new me didn't lean back. And I'll tell you how I learned to win these inner arguments. But first, let me go back in time and tell you the story from the beginning. Upon finishing my master's degree 3.5 years ago, I returned to Iraq. I wanted to do something innovative and impactful. But the field that I was looking to work in, the green building, didn't exist. So I knew I either had to leave the country again, which wasn't a good option for me, or start this work myself, except I didn't believe in myself enough to do it. I enforced this negative belief by comparing myself to successful people who were more privileged with good education, better financial and social status, and more supportive environment. So I put all reasons in the world justifying why I cannot do it myself. My brain did its job and talked me out of it. So I let it go. You see, we all have great ideas. But the difference between successful people and the ones who stayed behind is the amount of belief and persistence they had. You might believe this is a great idea, but you might not believe in yourself. And this was the most difficult challenge that I had to go through. People come to this world carrying distinct missions and having different responsibilities. Who I am today is a result of all the things that I've encountered and experienced throughout the past 3 decades of my life. I'm a perfect fit for my mission, but I wasn't aware of that back in the day. Going back to my story, 2 years fast forward, one day I was in the car, and I passed by a new local restaurant. So I said to myself, the first thing came into my mind, why on earth would anybody decide to open another kebab joint in the city? We already have plenty of them. Then it hit me. The restaurant owner didn't overthink it. Probably never done a study or a market research. He or she just did it. I kept that thought with me, and I held it until shortly after, when I was reading Shirley Sandberg's book, and I came across a sentence, quoting it. If we go to the sentence for Shirley Sandberg, the quote, it says, next. Women need to shift from thinking, I'm not ready to do that, to thinking, I want to do that, and I'll learn by doing it. Let's remove the word women and put people there, next, to be more inclusive. So I said to myself, I don't know how to start a business. I have zero experience in this work. I have no idea how can I introduce the concept of green building to Iraq, but I'll learn by doing it. So I know our goals might seem big and impossible. Just break them down into smaller goals and milestones, and take it one step at a time. In order to start the very first green company here, I had to become accredited and acquire the necessary knowledge for it. So I chased every single opportunity that would enable me to develop personally and professionally in this field. I knocked all doors, offering free seminars and courses and workshops, just so that my work get recognized. I created my own website with no external help whatsoever. I did all what it takes. I called 2018 the year of success, and it was. Exactly 1 year ago, I was sitting there dreaming. Today, I'm living the dream. I became the founder of the very first green building company in the country. Featured at Real Leaders magazine as one of the 100 visionary leaders for 2018. Talked at World Economic Forum among world leaders. Approached by a dozen of people who wanted to join KESK, my company, and work even for free. Invited to half a dozen of local and global events to talk about my initiative and work. Working now on building the very first building, green one, here in the region. And here I am, talking to you from TEDxNishtiman stage. So, my point is, nothing is impossible. Some of you might be sitting there and thinking, she must be privileged with this and that. I'll tell you a few things about myself. I had an average level of education. No super fancy schools whatsoever. I'm from a lower middle class family. Both of my parents don't hold degrees. I have 9 siblings, where I'm number 5, which made me barely noticeable among them. Interesting fact. My mom wanted me to be a boy. She already had 3 girls and 1 boy, and you know the culture. They love boys. She didn't actually tell me that. Some mean relative. She decided to let me know that my name didn't actually mean smile in Arabic, rather than enough for me or something like that in Kurdish. Don't worry, my mom loves me and she's super proud. So. What I'm trying to say is I'm just a regular person, and my chances were very low to be where I am today. Any of you can be standing here next year. How I learned to defeat these critical voices. I'll give you 2 techniques. The first is the outside-in technique. Create the right environment. Surround yourself with a strong circle of like-minded people. Look around. You'll find them. The second technique, which is my most favorite, is the inside out. You work from inside. Talk to people, family, and friends about your passion and vision. Don't hide yourself behind a mask. Don't be embarrassed and ashamed of talking about the things you love doing the most. And question these negative voices you get from inside, from within you, and take them one by one. Go deep to the roots. You'll be surprised with the results. All the imaginary obstacles will fall off. And finally, when you start believing in yourself, nothing on earth can stand between you and your goals. So start believing, and great things will come your way. Thank you for listening.